So we don't really get to do unboxing with bikes, but I figured since this comes in a box, we might as well do it this way. So the Nyon Display is the newest display introduced by Bosch. It was introduced in 2020, but we've really been starting to see more of them on bikes late 2020, early this year, 2021. Yeah, I think that a lot of people like it. Just it's one of the most feature-rich displays that Bosch offers. Where they have this kiosk display, which is a slightly smaller version of this and has a little bit less functionality, but it expands upon the more basic displays like the Nyon and Intuvia by offering some additional functions like the ability to connect a heart rate monitor, having the GPS. You have some advanced features like a lock function that you can pay for on an app. And with that, you also have an app that you can connect to it and you can track your rides, you can upload them to their website. You can also create your own route. Say if you're going on a longer tour and you wanted to plan your route ahead of time, you can program it all into the display, which is pretty cool. I think it's really good for people that are touring or just overall like to have more information with a larger screen. And for us, it seems that more and more people are going in the direction or opting for this. I think it's not as ideal for, say, like mountain bikes when you want to have something that's a bit more tucked away. And for that, people generally opt for like the Nyon or the kiosk display. I mean, you certainly could go for the Nyon display. However, it might be more susceptible to damage because of the size and the way that it mounts on the bike. The Nyon Display also introduces touch functionality. I mean, technically they have touch functionality on the smartphone hub because you're actually using your phone as the display. However, this is the built-in display that actually has the touch functionality, which is pretty nice. And it also has some of those other features like a color display and loads of other options for data and like setting up your own special screen to see pretty much any information that you might be interested in knowing about your bike, your ride, and even your health. So this is the Nyon aftermarket kit, how it comes, and I'm just gonna unbox it. Normally we'd have this like Bosch seal that's sealed, but it's not technically sealed, so you have to forgive me on that one, but still might be a enjoyable experience, I hope. So just open it up here, and this is the Nyon. So this is what you get inside: the display mount, and the thumb holder. So we'll just kind of pull these things out of the box and check it out here. So just pull this through. So basically you have the thumb controller here, which we use to control the display. And then this is actually how you mount it on the handlebars. Now some bikes, like for example, the Mueller has a proprietary mount for this, so it doesn't use the same mounting system. It's a little bit different, but the overall display mount and everything is the same. So if you were upgrading, say like a bike with that proprietary system, you want to make sure you get the right one. The standard aftermarket kit might not give you everything that you need to do that. Outside of that, we just have like some, I guess, like rubber shims. This would be the default one, and this just basically sticks inside of the mount here. This is the standard one you use with a 31.8 millimeter handlebar, which is really the most common. But I think they have some thicker ones. Say for example, if you have a smaller handlebar, like a 25.4 or something like that, you might use one of these like thicker shims. And then they have another one. Maybe this is like somewhere in between. They have a little screw here. This screw is made to be able to lock the display on here. So if you mount the display on, there's a little screw hole just on the bottom side that you can insert the screw, and it makes it so the display is not easily removable. This is everything that comes with the aftermarket kit, but if you get like an upgrade kit, say from Mueller or something like that, it's gonna be a little bit different. Yeah, just thought it'd be cool to show what comes in the box there. Now that we went over most of the basic components of the display, I wanted to dive into the functionality on the bike here. So this is set up on a Mueller Nevo. It's got a little bit of a different mounting system. It's actually proprietary to them. And you might find that on some different manufacturers, but most of them can accept the standard display mount for the standard handlebars, but this one just kind of integrates into the stem. But this is the display. You can easily remove it just by kind of pushing this button here and clicking the display off, and you can see these different connectors. And as it should, you know, this is just kind of their proprietary system that integrates into their stem here. So to insert it, you don't have to push the button, you just kind of click it in place. You should hear that audible click. That's gonna help you to know that it's actually clicked in place. But you can always just move it around a little bit just to make sure it feels secure on there, because you don't want it popping off because you didn't click it in place properly. Outside of that, you have the thumb controls. This bike has some other controls on it as well, but they're not related specifically to the display, like the horn here, and you have the high beam and low beam for the lights. Now the display does have a light function that you could turn the lights on and off, but the high beam function is something that's unique to just a small subset of lights. So to turn the system on, we're just gonna hit the power button here. Just takes a couple of seconds. I think this bike's actually brand new, so you're not gonna have as much like ride data and that sort of thing, but we'll be able to go through most of the basic functions here. So you have the miles per hour up here. You have the time, which you can actually set based on your time zone, which is kind of cool. You have this off, which just basically means that the assistance is off. At this point, it just rides like a normal bike. But if you push up into the higher levels of assistance, you can see some of the information changes on the screen. For one, the color changes to green. This means you're in eco mode. This is the lowest level of assistance, it's about 60%. You also see this 33 miles at the bottom here. This means actually how much range is left based on the battery that's on the bike. Now this bike has a 625 watt-hour battery, and normally I think at 56 I might expect it to be slightly higher, but it's really going to vary depending on how you're riding the bike, and it's going to update every mile or so that you ride it. So if you're not shifting that efficiently, if you're going up really big hills or riding very fast, you might see that number go down, or if you're riding more efficiently, not as fast on flat ground, then you might actually see that number go up. As you change to the different assistance levels, you can see the colors change as well as the range here. And then you also have this little ring here, and this is actually going to show you your power as well as the bike's power, which is a pretty nice function. I think a lot of people appreciate that, to be able to see what the bike is doing, what you're doing. And it's kind of motivating to see what you're doing and how much you're actually contributing. I guess the other cool thing is you don't necessarily have like a false sense that it's all your power, but you're still motivated to continue to improve your fitness and improve the input that you can do. I see that sometimes people start out mostly in sport or turbo mode, and then as they ride the bike more, improve their fitness, they might ride more in like the tour or eco mode, which is kind of cool. So now let's move into some of the other screens and we can just see how they work. Now I should note that we did a pretty extensive video on this display as well as all its functions. This one's going to be more abbreviated, so if you wanted to see that and get more details, you can check that out for sure. Here we got the trip distance. Right now it's zeroed out. The bike's new, so normally you would see that, and you can reset it in the settings, which we'll get into in just a moment. Another cool function, you have altitude. That's something kind of unique. So, you might have noticed I touched this, I didn't touch this, and it moved. That's something that's unique to the Nyon display, is that it's touchscreen, so you can actually cycle through these different things with your finger, which I think a lot of people really appreciate. Right now, it actually is showing us in Bosch Parkhouse, I guess in Stuttgart, Germany. I haven't connected my phone to this, so I guess this is the default screen. I'm kind of going through this with you on the fly. As I mentioned, I've done this before, but this is, I think usually I connect the app before I get going here. Another way you can see, some information about what you're doing and what the bike is doing on this screen here. Now I should note that all the screens are modifiable through the settings, but right here you have your riding mode usage, like how much power the bike is actually giving you and how much you're putting into it. And then you can see the average power that you put in and average power the engine puts in, which is pretty nice. So if we cycle around one more time, it goes to the beginning, and this is the settings screen. You can change the screens, the design. We can just look at the screen thing real quick, just because I mentioned it before. But basically you can go, this is just a little tutorial on the screen management, but basically you can go and select the different screens and edit them and add different information that's important to you and remove the stuff that's not important to you. That's one of the things that the Nyon does probably better than anything else, just allows you loads of customization. Another thing that the Nyon allows that none of the other displays allow is custom assist levels. So basically you can set your 4 different levels of assist to whatever you'd like. Say you want to have the power come on stronger early on, or you want it to be more gentle in the beginning, whatever the case may be, you can adjust all that. Otherwise, you can go with the default ones, which from my experience work pretty well, but a lot of times people like to have that functionality. So some other things on here, you have Wi-Fi. You can actually connect this to your local Wi-Fi network. So it makes it easier for like downloading apps or updating things. You want to transfer your ride data, etc. You know, you can do it that way. Or you can do it through Bluetooth, which actually you connect your phone through Bluetooth. It connects the information to the Bluetooth, and then your phone actually pushes it up to the cloud, goes into the eBike Connect website where you can manage all your data and that sort of thing. Or you can manage it through the app as well, but it's the same information, just displayed in different places. Then you have the design. So you can actually just change it from like the light background to dark background. You can change the brightness, the sync, just like syncing with the app and that sort of thing. So let's just go into the settings, and you have the map settings here. You have offline maps, so you can actually add maps in your specific area. Right now, it seems like it's got several of the European ones. I don't know if it loaded this by default, maybe because this bike was built in Germany. But I would, you know, in this case, I'm in California, I would add in California. If I plan to ride outside of California, I might do that. But, you know, that's a nice function to have. You have the map style. You can go 2D, 3D. You can do the turn-by-turn indicator, driving the map orientation, which is basically change the way that you look at the map. Yeah, so loads of different options to change around here. Then we can go into the other settings like my eBike. I should note that the custom assist level option is a premium function on the app, and it does cost $4.99. There are some other functions that are also available as an upgrade, like the lock function, which allows you to actually lock the display to your bike so no one can use a different display on this bike. Just a little added security. And if anybody ever was to steal the bike, they'd have a tough time actually using it. And maybe it might be more likely to actually end up at a dealer where it could be returned to you or something like that, which is kind of cool. Another nice function of the Nyon is you can have different users. So if you share the bike between a couple different people, you can have each of them connected to the eBike Connect app separately, and they can track their data individually. So this is really nice if you want to track your fitness and that sort of thing. You don't have to necessarily share that between two different users. Now I'd like to show connecting the app to the display, and we're going to do it this time via Bluetooth, but you can also do it through Wi-Fi. So we're just going to hit the plus button on here. This is the eBike Connect app. This is where you're going to track all your activity, everything like that. This is available in the iTunes store as well as the Google Play Store. But we're going to select the new Nyon display, hit Add Nyon, and it says press and hold the light button on your Nyon for 5 seconds. So we're just going to hold it down for a couple of seconds. And then the Nyon is going to show up here. I'm going to tap to connect it. I'm going to pair it. And then once you do the pairing, it's usually pretty easy to kind of keep it connected. When you turn it on, it kind of remembers it and that sort of thing. So connection to the account is successful. You're now logged in. You can hit OK on here, hit finish on here. As you see, we have this custom riding modes, which you can move things around. Say, you know, in mode 4, I kind of, if you want to have like max assist to the highest level, you can go max assist to 27.3. You can't do it to 28 necessarily because it needs to have like somewhat of a gradual drop off. If it just abruptly stopped at 28, it would feel pretty uncomfortable. So it's kind of cool the way that works. Important thing to note about the custom riding modes is that you kind of use it either or. So you can't just say, I just want turbo mode to be custom. You need everything to be custom or everything to be the default. So, and you also have the lock function. So I've purchased both of these apps, and basically if I had 6 bikes on here, I can have them activated on all of those, which is kind of cool. If you look on the display, you see that things kind of change a little bit. When you have my battery percentage on the phone, I have my name here, you have the lock setting here, and then some of the screens will change. Now I should note, before you use the navigation, you're going to want to download the offline maps in your region. So basically you just click in, and by default, I don't know, there's some maps in there, but I'm just going to find a map. We're in California, so I'm going to specifically look for the California map. You also are going to want to be connected to Wi-Fi, so that's really important. So you can't necessarily use the signal from your phone to download the offline maps. So you're going to prepare this ahead of time, basically. That's the point. If you're going to go on a long trip or something like that, try to anticipate what states you might cross into. So you can't really have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connected at the same time. So you want to get back into Bluetooth if you want to, you know, connect to your phone and send different routes there, that sort of stuff. So we're just going to move back to that. And naturally, when you're out on the road, Wi-Fi might not make sense because you're not going to have a consistent signal that way. So with the navigation functionality, you can program in different routes. You can do that on your phone. You can also do it online through their website. You can also do it with external apps like Komoot, for example, or you can actually use like the Garmin mapping functions, and you can export those maps and import them into the eBike Connect app and then basically load them into your bike, which is pretty cool. Then you can pull those up. You can also add in like your home, your work, some of your like common locations that you want to go to, and easily pull them up, which is pretty nice. Another function that exists on the Nyon display is the walk assist. So basically you're just going to tap that button on the top and then just hold the plus button down for a couple seconds. And it's just going to push the bike along a couple miles an hour. And that's not really intended to be used as like a throttle or anything like that. It's really just intended when the bike is loaded up to enable you to like push it up a hill or push it through a crowded area. I kind of use it pretty sparingly, primarily just if I'm like walking the bike up a larger hill, I might find it to be a little bit useful. Now you might also be wondering, with all this technology and such, like how's it going to handle the rain and dust and different things like that? I should mention that it's specifically rated to be able to handle those sort of conditions. So just like a car or motorcycle is designed, or really a traditional bicycle is designed to be able to handle all the conditions that you might put it in, pretty much the same here. Now, it's not intended to be submerged, but pretty much any heavy rain or anything like that, you shouldn't really have any trouble there. So I think that's a good thing to know, because a lot of times people question that when looking at electronic display like this. Well, I'm sure there's things that I might have missed in covering this display. As I mentioned, we have that longer video that we did, but if you have anything that you'd like to add that you have personal experience with, certainly welcome that. Or if you have questions that you want to add in the comments, welcome that as well. And if anybody wants to answer those, it's great. I always do my best to. Well, I hope you found this video to be helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Well, see you soon.